There's a big difference between reality and beliefs, and that's what we're going to talk about in this chapter. You see, we don't live in reality. We live in our beliefs. I do, you do, all of us. Now, if you're thinking, well, hey, John, I'm a very sensible person. I'm a person who keeps their feet on the ground, so I live in reality. Don't kid yourself. It doesn't matter. See, none of us live in reality. Our perspective is far too small to understand reality. What we end up living in is our beliefs. I'm going to give you an example to explain that. I have a friend who is in her mid-40s, lives in a very small town, a village really, out in the country. About 500 people in this town. She's lived there all her life. Her parents live there, and their parents live there. None of them have ever heard of there being any serious violent crimes, attacks, or murders in this small town. Okay? That is the reality, if you will, of her situation, that she lives in a very peaceful, warm, safe environment. That's something to be grateful for if you have it. But here's the world that she lives in. Okay? Her beliefs are that the world is a violent place, hostile, and you have to double and triple check the locks on the doors. She doesn't go out of the house at night. So she's very fearful and has a very negative opinion of people and things around her. And fortunately, this really impacts her life in a negative way. But that is not the reality of her situation, but those are her beliefs. And that is what she lives in. Her case may be extreme, but we all do this to some extent. Okay? We don't live in reality. We live in our beliefs. Just as the reality of her situation is a very warm, safe, loving environment, she does not experience that in her life. She experiences this violence and hostility, these things, fearfulness, even though it's not really there. She lives in her beliefs, not reality. That case is extreme, but we're all doing this. As I've said, we're all doing this to some extent in our lives. I am, you are, we all are. The great power in this is, as we change our beliefs, we change what we experience in our lives. This is one of the things that helped me so much to change my life when I began the path that I'm on now several years ago. Once I understood that there's a difference between reality and beliefs, and that reality was something that is unknowable to us. Our perspective is far too small. What we wind up living in is our beliefs. Once I understood that if I changed my beliefs, I would change the world I live in. And this is a statement of absolute fact. When you change your beliefs, you will change the world that you live in. Now, what I'm getting to in this chapter is there is a big difference between having something and experiencing something. Some time ago, I was at my home in St. Augustine, Florida, and I have a lovely panoramic view of the marina with yachts and seabirds out there and the blue sky and the water, and it's beautiful. And I was lying on my sofa in the living room reading a good book, and I suddenly noticed that I was lying on the sofa facing the wall toward the downstairs bathroom. And I said to myself, why am I doing this? If I simply get up and shift to the other side of the sofa, I am facing this beauty, this abundance, all of this wealth, and all, this tremendous view that I have. You see, I had that view the whole time, but I had my back turned to it, and I was facing the bathroom door, for God's sake. And in some way, a lot of us are doing this all the time. We have things in our life, but we don't experience them. Now, when you're practicing the law of attraction, you need to work on experiencing the things you already have. And let's start with a big one that everyone always wants to know about. Let's start with wealth. People always say, how can I get more wealth in my life? How can I be financially abundant? Or how can I feel financially abundant if my situation is kind of so-so right now? Let's talk about that. First of all, let me begin by saying that you are wealthy. You are a wealthy person. Now, when I said that, did you get a funny feeling? Did you kind of bristle at that thought and think, oh, he's lying to me, I'm not a wealthy person? Did you think that? Because I am dead serious. I can look you in the eye and tell you that you're a wealthy person because you are. You see, you have money to invest in programs, good programs to help you develop yourself. You have a computer. You have access to the internet. You have these things, and I'm sure many, many, many more. And these are just the material things. What about the non-material things you have? Relationships, people that care about you, health, all kind of things. You are a very, very wealthy person. The question is, do you experience this wealth in your life? Do you experience your life as the wealthy person you actually are? This situation is exactly like my friend in the small town. She has one thing. She has a safe, warm, easygoing environment, very secure. She has that. But she experiences something else. So think about your own life. You have wealth. You have great wealth all around you all the time. In this system, in your computer, in your access to the internet, in a million other things that you have in your life, in relationships you have in your life, in health and security you have in your life. You have great wealth. But do you experience that wealth? Are you coming from a feeling place of having it, or are you kind of like me on the sofa and turning your back to that wealth a little bit? Because that's what you never want to do. You don't want to turn your back on the great wealth that you already have, because you are an abundantly wealthy person. When it came to creating wealth in my life, one of the first things I had to decide was that I was already wealthy. Okay. And it's really the same no matter what we're talking about. If you're talking about relationships, if you're talking about creating a more peaceful state of mind, a more fulfilling job, whatever it is, really, the thing that you have to do is getting the feeling place that you already have that. And you don't need to lie to yourself. You need to focus on those parts of yourself that do already have that, because it's there. Like when I tell you that you're a very wealthy person, I can say it with a straight face because it can't be any other way. Of course you are. There are a lot of people in the world that don't have running water, much less access to the internet. There are a lot of people that don't have food in their refrigerator, much less money to spend on programs to develop themselves, to uplift themselves. And you have all this. You're incredibly wealthy. In another chapter, we'll go more into what wealth is, because it's not only the material things. They're just one part of it. And they are a part, but they are not wealth in themselves. So what you never want to do is, be like me, lying on my sofa, facing the bathroom door when there's a panoramic view of the marina and the yachts and everything right behind me. And you want to turn around and accept this wealth that you have. Receive it. Get in a feeling place of it and understand that that's who I am. I am a wealthy person. I have all of this wealth in my life, in every area. Recognizing what you already have, recognizing the abundance of what you have and what you already are. For example, you're wealthy, you're abundant. Recognizing these things will change your beliefs. And as we talked about in the beginning of this chapter, your beliefs are everything. They really are. Your beliefs are all you've got. They're all I've got. Your beliefs determine everything about you. You live in your beliefs, not your reality.